So now let's get started off with our today's webinar on the topic an introduction to PSIM and power electric simulation, for which let's welcome a renowned speaker who is pursuing his MSc degree at University Technology Petronas UTP Malaysia. He completed his graduation in electrical and electronics engineering from Rajshahi University of Engineering and Technology, Bangladesh. He is an employee of the Bangladesh Power Development Board BPDB, where he has discharging his duties as executive engineer before starting his postgraduate studies. Let's welcome Mr. SM Sanzid Lumen, everyone.
So once you download this software from the link available to you, you will get this folder, and into this inside this folder you can see there's a readme file. If you go through this readme file, there are 4 instruction set. You just need to follow this instruction, and that would be enough for you. Then you just enter into the PSIM folder. In this folder you will see this PSIM icon. This is the exe file. You can copy it and put it in any convenient place you want. You can copy it to the desktop as well. So once you double click it, the PSIM will start. So this is the PSIM. Now you take a new file, and this is the new screen, a new file. Now this is the platform where you are going to put your circuit. Whatever circuit you are going to simulate, you can design anything you can do here. One particular thing about PSIM is it's very interactive. So if you ever work in a physical laboratory, I mean any power electronics laboratory or electrical or circuit laboratory, you will find different kinds of module to build any circuit whatever you want. So those kinds of modules and circuits are also available. So if you have a very good idea about the different modules, physical modules, PSIM would be very convenient for you. And let me introduce the different options available here. These are very common options like new file, open, all the options available here. You can easily go through later. Edit, view, sub-circuit. So this is something I want to discuss later. This is to minimize the circuit. When you are going to build a big large circuit, things might become very complex. So in that case, you might need some sub-circuit. So you can put a lot of elements inside the sub-circuit and make the circuit much more convenient and simpler. All the elements, circuit simulation elements, are available in under this tab. So those who the items which PSIM has designated as power element are under this power tab. There are RLC branches. You can see from here: resistor, inductor, capacitor. This is the RL combination, RC. So all the passive elements are available here. You also can get the coupled inductor, nonlinear element. So like that. Then different kind of switches. It could be mechanical or electronic as well. So diode, thyristor, NPN transistor, MOSFET, GTO, IGBT, or mechanical switch like push button, bidirectional switch, Zener diode, LED. So all kind of electronic switches are available in this tab. You can also find different kind of transformer here, ideal transformer or some single phase transformer, 3-phase transformer. So all the default elements are given here. You can later just modify as per your need. These are the magnetic elements. So apart from electrical circuit simulation, you can also simulate magnetic circuit, like how much electromotive force will create how much electric flux in a magnetic circuit. So those are the kind of things you can simulate. These are the op-amp, then motor drive module. You can find different kinds of motor available here, like AC motor, DC motor, 3-phase motor, single phase motor. So all of the motors are available. You can put in a circuit and run the motor. Accordingly, it will behave and give you the corresponding speed and torque. Later, I will simulate some of the motor modules to demonstrate how to do that. So these are the different modules. Renewable energy, as this is a very old version, so only the solar module and this wind turbine module, these two modules are available. You can accordingly modify the module to change the parameter as per your requirement and can run the simulation. So these are the power modules available here. Under the control tab, you can find different kinds of control element. Like this is the different kind of filters, first order, second order, then computational block. These blocks are quite handy when you are developing some kind of control algorithm. Like these are the blocks, they will simply do the mathematical operation for you. You don't need to write any complex code or something else. You can simply put this mathematical operation block and do the necessary calculation to generate different kind of signal. In a word, you can simply do different kind of manipulation, signal manipulation using these kind of blocks. These are some other function block like sample and hold, lookup table, time delay, unit delay, TSD. These are for the digital logic circuit design. Different kind of gates are available here, including the flip-flops. These are the digital control module. Like you can use the integrator, differentiator, those kind of elements here. So this is a PI controller, integrator, differentiator, comparator. So all kinds of things what you are going to need for a circuit design and control system design are available here. In the other blocks, you can find these are the three most important elements. I cannot stress more because you are going to need these three elements very frequently. I'll share once I will build a circuit, then I'll explain what are the use of these three blocks. The different kind of sensors are available: voltage sensor, current sensor. These are the props which actually show you the result, because once you run the simulation, how to get the result. So there are different kinds of props are available, like voltage prop, current prop, then different kind of voltmeter, ammeter, wattmeter, and also these three types of oscilloscope: one channel, two channel, fourth channel. So these will visualize the result directly. It's quite like similar to a physical lab demonstration. In a laboratory, how you are going to connect an oscilloscope to visualize the signals. The same things you are going to do here. These are the different kind of transformation block. We're gonna need this kind of ABC DQ transformation, DQ alpha, I mean 3-phase to 2-phase transformation, 2-phase to single phase transformation. These are the different kind of transformation blocks that are required for control system design. And there are math function block, DLL block, and C block. This is the C block where you can simply write some C code to generate some control signal. Then control to power interface. This is the interface where if you could generate some kind of control signal, you can convert this control signal as a power. Then parameter sweep, parameter files. So those are the things available. Source. Now, if you are talking about the voltage source and current source, this is the area where you can find different kind of sources: DC source, AC source, control source, uncontrolled source. All kind of sources are available here. Similar goes for the current source as well. Time. So this block will give you the time of simulation. Once you turn on the simulation, it will give you the continuous timing. So this block can be used for other purpose as well. Like if you want to put some kind of time control logic in your circuit, this might become handy. So these are the basic items you're gonna need frequently while designing your circuit. And this SimCoder is for the target application. Like if you design a circuit and you build your control system here, then there are different kinds of target board available. These are the development board, actually, Texas Instrument Development Board. So some other model boards are also available. So you can simply convert this control algorithm, control block from this PSIM into a C code and write the codes into this target board. So you don't need to worry about how to write the different codes or how to design the control system. You simply design the circuit and control system here. If it works perfectly, then you can simply transfer this control code into this target board. It's very convenient. If I get enough time at the end, then I might share some of the ideas about this thing later. Let's see. So these are the different items available, and you can also find the shortcuts in the bottom line. You can find the shortcuts of different items. Say for example, this is the ground. You can simply click and put it here, then click the escape, it's gone, then put the resistance. So this is the way you can simply bring the elements from the shortcut bar, or you can also bring the elements from this tab. You can go here and register or whatever items you're gonna need. So you can just click and put. So these are the shortcuts available here. You're going to frequently need this shortcut as well. Then the simulation tab. So this is the simulation control. Just remember this point that whenever you are going to run a simulation, you definitely going to need this simulation control element here. You need to put this element in every simulation file, and here you need to define the simulation parameter. So usually you don't need to worry about this thing because the default parameters will be given here, and only one thing you can do, that how you want to run the simulation. Like, do you want to run the simulation like free run? It will continuously run like a practical demonstration. You can stop it or you can run it, and it will run by its own. For that mode, you're gonna need to click this free run mode. The other types of simulation is if you want to specify the simulation running period, like you want the circuit to run for 2 seconds or 5 seconds or 1 millisecond. In that case, you can define the time here. So it will run for that particular period of time and then show you the result. So this is the two mode of running a simulation. Once we build the circuit, then I will demonstrate what's the difference between these two mode of simulation. So as of now, you just remember for every simulation, you need to put this simulation button. So these are the options. From these options, you can do some settings like how you want to see the different the screen and how you want the items to be organized. So those are the things you can set as per your requirement from here. You can customize the toolbars and others. These are some utilities, like you can use some converter kind of stuff from here, like from S domain function to like a Z domain. So for example, there's a control system whose parameters are given into S domain. Now you want to convert these parameters into equivalent Z domain. So this is the utility where you can do the things. So you can say the integrator. So this is the S domain function, S domain representation of an integrator. The corresponding Z domain representation will be like this. So accordingly, you can see for different kind of control element, you can convert the function or the transfer function into corresponding Z domain. So that's why it is called S to Z converter. It will become very handy when you are focusing on the control system design. BH curve. So you can generate or you can design a magnetic core by your requirements. So you can see the inductance has been mentioned here, like 8.5 to 10 to the power minus 6. This is the parameter. So these are the parameters for as a default parameter for any magnetic core. If you change the parameter, say for example, I want to change, make it like 0.001, calculate and see how the BH curve. So this is the BH curve of this if I change the parameter like in this way. So this is the way how you can change the parameter and see how you have produced the magnetic material whose BH curve will be like this. So this is the thing you're gonna need if you are concentrating in the magnetic circuit simulation. Solar module. So this is the solar module. All the parameters has been given here, and you can see the characteristic curve. You can change as per your requirement. Like you can change the voltage rating, current rating, or wattage rating to match up with some practical models available, or you can just imagine that you want this kind of module to be available for your research work. Then you can accordingly change the parameter and make your own solar model, and accordingly you will see the characteristics curve. And later you can use this particular solar module in your simulation. So those are the items usually available. So you can later just go through all the things and try by yourself that how the different settings and different tabs are working and responding. I'm not going through in details. So later, better we can try the simulating a simple circuit now. Let's try with a simple circuit, then it will be easier for you. If you in between, if you have any queries or any question, just let me know. I don't mind interruption in between. Just feel free to ask. So just put a ground here. I want to build a AC RLC circuit, let's say. So now this is the source. You can see from here, this is the DC voltage source, and this is the sinusoidal voltage source. So this is the AC source. I put the AC source here and take some element R, L, and C. And for connecting all the elements, you can simply select it, drag, and put it like this way. It will be automatically connected. Or you can take this connect probe wire. This is called the wire. So you can click it. It's selected. Now you can simply connect it. Building a circuit is very convenient in PCM. You don't need to worry about much. It's much more faster and easier than other simulation platform. So once the circuit has been built, now you need to set the parameter. Like double click on the source, then you can see what are the parameters given. Peak amplitude. This is a sine wave. So the peak amplitude is 110, frequency is 60, phase angle 0. So you can change if you want. If you want to know more about any element, you just simply double click and go to the help. So in the help, you will find details about the item you are going to use, how the sinusoidal voltage source will behave, and what are the different terminology, what is the meaning of the different terminology. Everything will be described here. So that is being said. And also, if you want to see the parameters here beside this symbol, you simply put a click here, 110. So now you can see the 110 has come. This is the peak value. I want to see the frequency as well. It's 50 hertz. I want to make it 50 hertz. So that's done. So it's 50 hertz and 110 peak value voltage source. Now comes the resistance, 12 ohm. I want to make it 1 ohm. The inductance, by default is 0. I want to make it 10 millihenry. You can use the suffix like M for milli, or U for micro, N for nano, for any parameter representation. For capacitor, let me put 10 microfarad. So 10 U. 10 U means microfarad. Okay, so it's done. So now I want to run the simulation. Now how I'm going to run the simulation. First, let's check run the simulation by the basic, the default form. The default one is the total time 0.01. So the circuit will run for 0.01 second. Then it will show you the result. So let's run it. Simulation is complete. Run SimView to display the waveform. So run SimView. SimView is the platform where you will see the voltage and current of different nodes. So we have not selected the node or voltage or branches yet. So no variables are available here. So I have to define the variables which I am intended to measure. So for that, what I have to do? So you can see the different point. You need to designate. You have to define the measuring point. How you are going to define the measuring point? One thing you can do, you can simply put some probe. Here you can see the 3 items. This is the emit current probe. This is the voltage probe to measure the voltage in between 2 points, and this is another voltage probe. So once you put this voltage probe here, that means we'll measure the voltage of this point. This one will measure the voltage at this point, and this will measure the voltage at this point. So these are the voltage probe. Now let me put some current probe. I'll put the current probe here. So now you have already designated this measuring point. So that means you have designated or defined 4 variables to be measured. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 voltage and 1 current. So these are the variables you are going to visualize once you run the simulation again and go through the SimView. Let's run the simulation again. Now run SimView. So now you can see I1, V2, V3, V4. All these 4 variables has been calculated and ready to be displayed. I1, let's check this I1. So this is the current. This is the platform, I mean SimView platform, where you can see the visualize the result, and you can also do different kind of signal manipulation here. I'm going to show you very shortly. So this is the current I1. If you want to see the voltage now, what you can do, you can add the another window, and this is the tab or icon where you simply click and add. Let's add V2 now. Add V2. Okay, so this is the voltage. As the simulation ran for only 0.01 second, as the time is very short, you can see 0.01 second, and the frequency is 50 hertz, so it could not finish one complete cycle. As you can see, it didn't cover one complete cycle, it's only half cycle, almost half cycle. I want to add another voltage V3 as well. So this is the voltage. So this is the 3 graph. You can add more and more if you have more variables, or you can also superinput one signal into another. Like this is showing the I1. I want to put V2 on I1 as well. So just click this one and double click. You can see the variable I1 is already here. You can add additionally V2. So now it will show I1 V2 as well. So this is I1 V2 because I1 is very small, that's why it's like it cannot be detected easily. So what you can do, you can magnify, like zoom in and zoom out. Let's see whether can we see the signal. Yes, so now you can see this is the I1, and once you reach to the signal, so this is the representation. So the 2 signals are already here. You can also do other stuff like, say for example, I want to find the peak. What is the peak value of this signal? You can come here. This will show global maximum for I1. It's showing the peak value of the current. So you just simply eliminate this one. Now we can see this is the peak value of this voltage source. If you want to find the lowest point, minima, then this is the minimum point. It also showing you the corresponding time and the magnitude. If you want to do some mathematical operation on these signals, like say for example, I want to do some mathematical manipulation, like I want to add these 2 signal V2 plus V3. What will be, how would it look like if I add V2 and V3? So this is the area where you can do this calculation, V2, and you can select the mathematical operation you are going to apply. You can add, subtract, multiply, divide, or to the power, or take any cosine or sine function of that signal. So you can just select, I want to do, say for example, addition of this V2 and V3. So now it's showing V2 plus V3, then add it. Now the variables for display is V2 plus V3. So this is the addition of this V2 plus V3. If I want to multiply, let's take multiplication here. So this is the multiplication. So this V2 and V3, and if these 2 signals are multiplied, then you will get this representation. You can also find the average value. Like if you click here, you can find what is the average value of up to this window. Whatever portion of the signal is visible to you, like 0.00 second to 0.01 second. So up within this span, what would be the average value of this signal? That would be given by this icon. So you can see these are the average value. You can also calculate the RMS value. If you want to calculate the RMS value of this voltage, you can simply click here and it will give you the RMS value. Similarly, if you have the voltage and current source in a single graph, you can also calculate the power factor, the real power, the apparent power, and the total harmonic distortion as well. Later, I will try to demonstrate how to do that. So that's been said. This is the one way. This is one way to find the simulation result. But I will not. I don't use this option actually. This specific fixed time. I don't use it. It's not that much convenient. I will recommend to use the free run mode, and free run mode is much more convenient and very fun. Actually, running simulation in PCM is quite fun. You will find this fun once you run the simulation in the free running mode. This is the oscilloscope. From here you can find a single channel or double channel oscilloscope. So I got this oscilloscope, double click it, it will turn on. So this is the window. It will continuously show you the result. You've got two channels, channel A and channel B. So let's say, for example, I want to measure the current of this branch as well as the voltage at this point. So how to do that? Quite easy. For voltage, you can simply connect this point. So now the oscilloscope will measure the voltage of this point with respect to ground. And how to measure the current? For current, you just remove this ammeter and need to put some current sensor. In the down row, you can see there are two kind of sensor available here. This is the voltage sensor, and this one is the current sensor. You can also get these two elements from here, sensors, voltage sensors and current sensors. So these are the two sensors, might come quite handy for some time. You can also just change the direction and change the alignment as well. Another thing is, say for example, you have brought several items in your circuit for designing purpose, and you are not using it as of now. You just want to run the simulation for now to check. So before that, as these items are not connected as of now, you simply select those and click on the right button and make it disable. So it will not hamper your simulation. Those are remain disabled. So this can be followed in any stage of the circuit design. If you want to keep some portion of the circuit from running during the simulation, you just simply select this portion and make it disable. So this oscilloscope, channel B will measure the voltage and channel A will measure the current of this branch. Now let's take a look. Free run mode. So now you can see it's continuous running mode, just like a practical demonstration. So this is the voltage and current. Channel A is the current, channel B is the voltage. The blue one is the voltage. You can change the time scale as well. You can change the vertical division as well as per your requirement, or you can auto scale. Once you auto scale, it will adjust automatically. You don't have to worry about the magnitude or the time frame. Time frame you can also change from here to check. If you, for some frequency you might get this kind of flashing, then in that case you just simply need to trigger. If you are experienced with a practical oscilloscope, you know that sometimes you might need to trigger the oscilloscope. If you select the trigger, which channel should trigger, channel A or channel B, so accordingly it will trigger itself internally and stabilize the signals for you. Now, so what you can do, what is so fun about this running the simulation? You can change the parameter while running the simulation. Let's see, it is 110 volt. So now you can decrease the magnitude from here, or you can simply press on the arrow button of your computer keyboard. Just arrow up, arrow down. If I go for arrow down, it will decrease the magnitude, and you can see what's the reference. I'm decreasing the voltage. Now I'm increasing the voltage. As the oscilloscope has been set in the auto scale, so you don't need to worry about anything else. It will automatically adjust the window for you like that. Now say for example I want to change the parameter as well, resistance. I'm increasing the resistance. While increasing the resistance, the current will decrease. So you can see the current and decreasing. To change the capacitor, sometimes it might go out. It cannot accept the parameter with 0 value, so you need to put any value other than 0. So increasing the capacitance, that means the circuit is becoming like more capacitive, sorry, more resistive or inductive. Now the circuit is like more inductive. Sorry, it's like more capacitive. The current is leading the voltage. The red one is the current and the blue one is the voltage. The current is leading the voltage by 90 degree. That means the circuit is mostly like capacitive. So these are the stuff you can do while running the simulation. Still the simulation is running because of the triggering. We cannot understand. It's like static. So still the simulation is running, and in between the simulation you can change any parameter and see the responses. And it will happen for any kind of circuit you are going to design. So now what you can do, you already got this result. Say for example you got some result. Now you want to do some manipulation or some processing on this result. How you are going to do it? It's very simple and convenient. You can see the save button here. You simply click on this save, and you show the destination, and say for example give it some name. I put a name better. First simulation. It will save as all SimView files. Okay, now you want to have to define which signal from which oscilloscope you want to visualize. So this is oscilloscope 1. You can put multiple oscilloscope as well. So oscilloscope signal channel A. Add here channel A. I want to see channel B in another another graph. So this is the result of channel A. Now I want to add channel B. Fine. So this is channel A, channel B. Channel A is showing the current, channel B is showing the voltage. I want to change the color. How to do that? You simply double click on it. You go to the curve, and from here you can change the color. The current will be blue, and you can change the line thickness as well. You can do some other things like grid color. You might hide grid. There will be no grid, or if you want the grid, then click it here like this. Then you can change the font and size and style as well. This font means the value x-axis and y-axis font. Okay, it's blue now. So same goes for the voltage as well. If you want to change anything of this voltage, you can do that. You can also do some manipulation. Say for example, I want to add another graph, which would be the power. That means voltage, the current multiplied by the voltage. Add it. So now it will show you the power. So this is single phase power, you can see. And as the circuit is capacitive, so mostly the power is like reactive in nature. So it can see the power is swinging between the positive half and the negative half. There is no net power flow. You can find the average as well. So the average is showing for this graph is 2.85 into 10 to the minus 2. Very few, negligible milliwatt of power because of the resistance. If we want to calculate the power factor, in that case you need to put voltage and current in the same graph. Say for example, I want to put the voltage here as well. So now graph 1 is showing the voltage and current. Now we can calculate the power factor, I guess. So the power factor is, you can see for the first graph which has a voltage and current. So it can calculate the power factor now. Unless if you only give voltage or only current, that is not enough information to calculate the power factor. You're gonna need the voltage and current. So as the first graph got the voltage and current, you can calculate the power factor, and the power factor is given at 3.14 into 10 to the power minus 3, very low. You can also calculate the real power. Click on the real power, P. So this is the real power, and the apparent power, and the THD, total harmonic distortion. In order to calculate the total harmonic distortion, the software need to know which frequency you are assuming as a fundamental one. So you need to put the fundamental frequency is 50 Hz, as we are using fundamental 50 Hz, and we can check what's the total harmonic distortion. So the total harmonic distortion, if the fundamental frequency is 50 Hz, then it already has calculated the what would be the total harmonic distortion of these three graph, and accordingly is showing after showing the total harmonic distortion for channel A, B, and this power as well. So this is the total harmonic distortion. So these are the things you can do in the SimView platform. You can also set the y-axis, like right now it's under auto range. You can also define some range. If you want to see on a particular portion, then you can use this axis editing tool. You can set the auto grid or manual grid. You can change the scale from linear to logarithm scale as well. Say for example, I want to see from 0 second to 0.02 second, 0.02 second. This portion I want to see and do the manipulation later. So you can simply check the x-axis and make it change it to 0.02. So 0 to 0.02, you see. Okay, so now it's showing the signal up to this point only, 0 to 0.02. If you want to go back to the previous count, then simply reload data and redraw. This is the redraw. Okay, so we're back to the base. You can also do the FFT, fast Fourier transform. Also can put some different label, text, line, dotted line, arrow, for signal better visualization and for other purpose as well. So those are the things available here. You can just go through it and can get better idea. And once you have done everything here, now you have to save the image as some kind of for further for using in your article, right? So how to save this image? There is a specific way to save this image as a PDF file. So you need to set the image size. In order to do that, you have to define the page size beforehand. There are different kind of page available here, like A3, A4, A4. So what would be the approximate size of your image that will dictate which page size would be better for you. If I choose the A4 and if I want to do a portrait or landscape, say for example I want the landscape image, then set it, then see the print preview. So this is the image which is going to be saved as a PDF file once you saved it. You can also make it portrait, or you can also squeeze this image to make it very small. Like you can change the print setup. You can go to the print page setup, and from here you can select the margin. If you change the margin, the image size will be squeezed. It will be much more shrinked. Say for example, I want top margin is 2, bottom margin 1, left and right 4. 2. Now we'll see. So now you can see the page size remains the same, but the image size has been shrinked. So by this way you can resize the image in different way as per your requirement. Then go to the print and go to desktop. So that's done. That's the result. It might look very light now, so you can simply increase the thickness of your signal. You can increase the thickness, it will be much more brighter. You can change the color up to 6 level. You can increase the thickness of the line. So this is the way. So that's for the simple circuit simulation, how you are going to simulate a simple AC circuit. Now, is there any question from your side? Unless I will proceed to the power electronics simulation. If you have any question, just let me know. Okay. Now let's start with a converter. We know in power electronics we have different kind of converter, like boost converter, buck converter, or AC/DC, DC/DC. Different kind of converters are available. Also, you have different kind of electrical machines like motors are also uh, required to run sometimes in simulation. So let's build a DC/DC converter like a buck converter, and then attach a DC motor to it and run the simulation. Let's take how the system respond and how to build the circuit. So in order to build a buck converter, what we're gonna need? At first, we're gonna need a DC voltage source, right? So let's take a DC voltage source. This is a DC voltage source. Okay. Let's define the voltage at 50 volt. Next, put the ground. Okay. Now for a buck converter, as it is a switching mode converter, there should be some kind of electronic switch, right? So what kind of switch we can use? We can use any kind of switch, like simple BJT or IGBT, MOSFET, any kind of switch we can use. For this simulation, better choose an IGBT, which is also available here, IGBT switch. So put it like this, then we can connect it here. After that, we need a filter circuit and a freewheeling diode. So from here you can check a diode. Thyristors are also available here. We don't need the thyristor here. We need this diode, which would be connected. Then we need the LC filter element. We're gonna need this L and the capacitance. Later we can put the load. Let's make it a little bit squeeze. Okay, done. So now connect it. So this is our simple buck converter. Now what you're gonna need, we need to connect a resistance load. This is the resistance. Now connect it. And to visualize the signals, we need this oscilloscope. So what are the voltage and at which point we are going to do the measurement? There are several points. So we can do the measurement for the input as well as the output side. This oscilloscope will show the voltage at the input side. Channel A will show the voltage at the input of the filter, and channel B will show the output voltage. So basic things have been done. Now what we're gonna need, what we are missing here, this IGBT has to be turned on and turned off. It needs to be driven by a specific duty cycle. So how to do that? You can see from here, this is a square wave voltage source. So this kind of voltage source, it will generate some pulsating square wave, and that will be driving this IGBT in the continuously turn on and turn off. That means it will be a PWM signal. You can see from here, it's peak to peak 1 volt, and the frequency is 1000 hertz, and duty cycle is 0.5. So you know already from the basically knowledge that if you change the duty cycle of a buck converter, the output voltage will change. At 100% duty cycle, you will get the full supply voltage. Like if the supply voltage is 50 volt, at 100% duty cycle, you will get the full 50 volt. At 50% duty cycle, you will get the 50% of this supply voltage. Like the output voltage given by the duty cycle multiplied by the input voltage. So if you want to change the voltage, you can simply change this duty cycle, and it's better always for this kind of switching mode power supply, switching mode circuit converter, that if you go for the high frequency, the filter element will become less expensive and will be smaller in size. So it's better to go for high frequency always. Better to put it 2 hertz, 2 kilohertz, and the duty cycle is 0.5. So just for visibility. And now you have to design the filter circuit. How you are going to design this filter circuit? You can see that if the carrier frequency, the modulation frequency is 2 kilohertz, so the filter, this LC filter, constituted by these two elements, this LC filter's cutoff frequency should be less than this 2 kilohertz. So you can put this design this filter circuit accordingly, so that you can get the cutoff frequency less than this 2 kilohertz. Just putting this random value, later we can check and check and balance by trial and error method. 10 millihenry, and the capacitor I am going to put like 7 microfarad. Just check how does it behave. Still it's not ready. You can see the IGBT gate terminal is not connected with this source. Now if I connect this point, so will this configuration directly work? Let's check. Run the simulation. So you will definitely get this error, and the error is very common. I guess almost all of you, when you are going to simulate the PSIM for the first time, you will get this kind of error very frequently. The gate node of the switch IGBT is floating. So this is a very crucial thing to remember, that in PSIM, all the electronic switch, I cannot stress more that all the electronic switch available in PSIM, like IGBT, MOSFET, BJT, or any thyristor, those who are used as electronic switch and need a control signal to be driven, they will require this kind of switch controller. They cannot be connected directly to any control source. This switch controller, there are 3 kinds of switch controller available here: on-off controller, alpha controller, PWM pattern controller. These are nothing but simple element which you just simply need to connect. Is because you know that this IGBT is connected in the upper hand side of this converter, and if you want to make this IGBT to switch operate in the perfect switching mode, you need to apply the gate voltage with respect to the source. If this is the source terminal, or for IGBT it is the emitter terminal. So if you want to make this IGBT to operate in the perfect switching mode, in practical you need to apply the voltage at the gate terminal with respect to this source, right? So that's why in practical circuit you need some voltage shifter or some separate driver circuit to run any IGBT, MOSFET, or BJT in the switching control mode. You need a driver circuit, but as PSIM has eliminated this need for this simulation, you don't need to design any driver circuit, you don't need to put any driver circuit. To make the simulation simple, you simply need this gate controller. So for on-off controller, like this IGBT MOSFET, you're going to need this on-off controller. And for alpha controller is for the thyristor. You can simply designate some alpha, the firing angle, and that will make the thyristor to fire at a particular angle. That will also be very convenient and make the simulation easier, they put these three controller. So for this simulation, we're gonna need this on-off controller. So this is an on-off controller, look like a diode, but it's not a diode. It's also available here. You can see. You're gonna need to put this on-off controller in between the control source and the control terminal. So here this voltage source, this is the control source, and this is the control element, and this is the control terminal. So in between these two, you just simply need to put this on-off controller, and that's done. Nothing to worry, nothing to make it complex. It's simple as that. So now we can run the simulation. Okay, the simulation is running perfectly, and you can see from here. You can increase the time scale, change the, okay. So the red one is the input voltage to the filter element. So after the switch, you are expecting a 50% duty cycle, right? Because we have already set 2 kilohertz, 0.5 hertz, sorry, 0.5 duty cycle. So this is the output voltage, and its peak would be 50 volt. As the source voltage is 50 volt, you can see the voltage will be 50 volt here, because the division of this oscillator will be 20 volt per division. So 20, 20, and this will be 50. And this blue line is the output voltage. So the input is like a square wave kind of signal, but you are getting a smooth output is because of this filter. This filter element is blocking all the harmonics, unnecessary harmonics are being blocked, and only the pure DC is being transferred to the load. So now you are getting this DC. And what's the value of this DC voltage? If it is 20 volt, it's like this. So another thing, you can get an approximate result through direct measurement. If you put this voltage probe, you can simply put the voltage probe here and select it, and you can see show pros value during simulation. So this is true for all the voltage and current probe. You can also do the same thing for the current probe. You can simply put the current probe, how much current has been drawn to this load, and you can see show pros value during simulation. Just put a tick here. Also voltage, double click and put a tick. That means while running simulation, these two probe will continuously show you the instantaneous value or reading. So apart from the oscilloscope, this is another technique to get the result. So now you are running the simulation once again, and you can see. So this is the voltage, 24.98 volt. It's almost 50% of the supply voltage, and this is the current, almost 2.082 ampere current is being drawn by this load. Now, if you change the duty cycle, what will happen? For as long as you are using this kind of fixed source, it's a bit difficult for you to change the duty cycle while running the simulation. You need to stop the simulation and change the duty cycle, make it, say for example, 0.2 duty cycle now, and run the simulation once again. So now it's running at less duty cycle, 0.2. It should give you, yeah, 0.2. So now we are getting almost 10 volt. So this is the output voltage now. So it's quite difficult sometimes to control the boost buck converter in this way. Apart from this, if we go for the traditional way to generate the control signal, it will be much more convenient and easier for you. And how to do that? That is also, that's called the traditional way. You need a comparator. So this is a comparator. You need a triangular voltage source to generate the carrier signal, either triangular source or a sawtooth wave source. Then you're going to need some reference value. You can simply put a DC source, or you can do some other elements you can also use. Those elements might become handy for you. You can go to the source, go to the voltage, and you can see from here, you can simply use the DC voltages like this one, or you can go down, and these two things look quite much more cleaner than the complete source, because it's simply a DC cycle. This is also a representation of the DC voltage source. You can also put it like this way. In electronic circuit, you are familiar that you can simply put this VCC or VEE in this way. You don't need to put the whole polarity this kind of symbol in most of the electronic circuits, right? So you can also use this thing as a DC voltage source, alternative to DC voltage source. Need to get ground connection for this one, and this is the comparator. So what it will do, it will compare this DC voltage volt, and for this triangular wave we can put simply the peak magnitude, peak to peak, it should be maximum 10. The frequency should be 2 kilohertz. The duty cycle 0.5 duty cycle means it would be a triangular wave, and if you increase the duty cycle it would become a sawtooth wave. And DC offset, you can put some DC offset, or let's put it like 0. Let's see what will happen now. Peak magnitude is 10, 2 kilohertz and 0.5. Okay, you want to see the control signal generation in more details, so let's put an oscilloscope here. We'll see what will happen. Channel A will show the triangular wave or the carrier signal. Channel B will show the output of this comparator. Let's see, run the simulation, increase the time scale. Okay, that's good. So we can see from here, it will be more easy if we use a 3-channel oscilloscope. Go to the others, probes, and go to the 2-channel, 4-channel oscilloscope. Better we can use this oscilloscope. Okay, so this is our control voltage 0.5. Then the triangular wave goes to channel B, then output goes to channel C. So now this is the reference signal, the 5 volt I have mentioned here. This is the reference signal. You can adjust the output. The reference signal is such a signal, so you can change the output voltage using this reference only. It will be clear once we describe in details. So now you can see from here, the red one is the reference signal. At this moment it is 5. If I increase, it will shift. You can see, the more I go high, the green one is the output signal. So this is the square wave signal, which is being PWM, or that means pulse width modulated. Now I am modulating the pulse. The more I increase this control signal, this is the way you can change it. So if you shift the level, you will get the sine wave like this way. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so now what you can do, you can we better get back to the previous value, like 10 volt. And now this is a control signal, and you can easily change the value to generate this control signal. So you can see how the green one, the output voltage is changing. The more you increase this level, I mean increase the control value, the pulse width will increase, and that's how you are going to modulate the control signal, which is going to be fed to the IGBT. So now once it is done, I can simply remove these items from here. And what you can do, you put the gate controller, you remove this control source. Now we're not using it anymore. So now from here you can simply connect using the wire like this way, or you can use another handy tool. This is called the level, VIG. You can simply put some name, VG or IGBT. So this can make your circuit much more easier and make it more concise. You can simply connect this level here, copy the level and paste it here. So that means these 2 points are connected. You don't need to go for physical drawing of all the complex circuitry. So sometimes the circuit will become much more larger and much complex. In that case, this level will become very much handy. You can simply just put these 2 level, same name, always maintain the same name. It's better to copy other than editing. And that means these 2 points are internally connected. So now we can run the simulation, and you can see it's around 3. So if you want to increase the output, you just go up. You can see how it is increasing and how your output voltage is increasing. So I'm just changing the duty cycle of the PWM signal and making the output as per my requirement. 9%, 9 means 90%. 90% duty cycle, output voltage is 45 volt. If I go down, it's going down. This is the manual one. I am changing this duty cycle manually. You can also put some PI controller. PI controllers are available here. This PI controller, and put some feedback control system, like taking the voltage from here, going to the PI controller. Accordingly, this set reference value will be calculated. So you can keep this output voltage constant over the wide range of changes. Like you can change the supply voltage, you can change any element or the load of this circuit, but still keep the output voltage constant if you use this PI controller. As we don't have much time today, I think it's already I'm already at the end of this session. So there are a few things I could not share with you guys, but let me share one last thing: how to run a motor, electrical motor. I can simply connect this motor drive module like a DC machine, brushless DC machine, brushless, or I can use this brush DC motor as well, simple brush DC motor. So instead of this resistance, what I'm going to do, I simply need to connect this motor. And for connecting this motor, you can see this is the armature circuit and this is the field circuit. For DC machine, you're going to need both of this. And for the field circuit, let me put a simple DC voltage source so that I don't need to worry about the field circuit. That means it's like a more like a permanent magnet motor or like a fixed field DC motor. I'm only controlling the armature. I am employing the armature voltage control technique to regulate the speed only here. So that means the armature flux is constant. I don't need to worry about the field circuit. I'm only controlling the armature voltage to control the motor speed. So you need to specify the motor ratings. You can see from here what are the different parameters of the motor has been given here. Terminal voltage has been given as 120 volt, IA 10 ampere, rated speed is 1200 rpm. So this requires higher voltage, so I need to change the supply voltage. Let me make it 120 volt or 200 volt. Let me make the source as 200 volt, and I need to run this motor. No, it's better to go for 100. Going to overrun the motor. Okay, so motor has been put in the circuit. Now need some probe to measure the the motor speed and torque, right? So what we can do from here, we can go to this motor drive module, mechanical loads and sensor. From here you need to take this. You can see from here mechanical different kind of mechanical loads are available here. We need one mechanical load, like the motor cannot run at no load. If it is running at no load, the speed will become unpredictable. So you can put some mechanical load. Gearbox are available. You can reduce or increase the speed, and this is the Hall effect sensor and the speed sensor and torque sensor. So you can put some speed sensor, it will give you the speed, and you can also put the torque sensor to measure the torque, and finally you can put the mechanical load what the motor is going to run. There are different kind of load torques available. For electrical network, you're gonna put simple resistance as electrical load, or for a mechanical system, you're gonna need this mechanical load torque, and this round cylindrical shape item is the mechanical load torque. If you want to know the details, you can simply go here and go for the help to know the details how the mechanical load torque are defined. Now you need to put this probe in PSIM. Any kind of variable measurement, any type of variable, those will be represented as a voltage. So if you want to measure the current, if you want to measure the torque, or if you want to measure the speed, those will be represented as a voltage. So any voltage probe you can use for their measurement. So this is a voltage probe. From here I can simply connect it here. Another voltage probe I'm connecting here. So whatever the value they will be showing, that is the corresponding speed or torque. You need to remember this thing. Or you can also put it like this way. This is the speed, and this is the torque. So now this one will show the speed, this one will show the torque. It is done. Let's run the simulation and see how the circuit responds. So right now the output voltage is 35 volt. The motor is running at 442 rpm. The load torque is 1. You can also visualize the speed in the oscilloscope. If we connect an oscilloscope here, it will show you the motor speed. Let's run the simulation again now. So now what you can see here, the motor, the DC-DC converter is supplying the voltage at 30% duty cycle, which is giving 35 volt, and the motor is now running at 442 rpm with a 1 Newton meter load torque. Now I want to increase the motor speed, so let me increase the PWM duty cycle. So now you can see the output voltage has increased as well as the speed. If I go more, just simply I'm increasing the duty cycle, and the motor is running at higher speed. At 65, at 80% duty cycle, this is the condition. At 90% duty cycle, so now the output voltage of the converter is 107 volt, and the motor is running at 1343 rpm, already overspeeded, because the rated speed of the motor is 1200 rpm. So now we can see the motor is running at overspeed. So this is the way how you can simply build a DC-DC converter or any power electric converter, and also use electrical machine to benefit from this converter. This is a DC-DC converter. You can also build a AC-AC converter as well using the thyristor and other blocks. So if you have any question, you can raise the question now, because I think we are already at the end of this session. There are other few things which you can easily go through by yourself. You can also go through the website. This PowerSim. PowerSim is the main maker of this PSIM software. So from here you can get the student version, as well as the different tutorials videos are available here. How to use the PSIM and how to simulate different kind of circuits. A lot of tutorial videos are available. Usually they don't release their tutorial videos in the YouTube. So on YouTube, you will not find that much of their video. You better that if you go through this PowerSim Tech, their original website, you can find the tutorials here. They are quite user friendly, interactive, and you can learn a lot of things from there. And they also released the latest version of the software, which got a lot of options available and more versatile rather than this one. But still you can use this one for learning and using for your basic research. And I think it should be fine for you. So I think that's the end from my side. I just like to thank you everyone for your patience. If you have any queries related to PSIM, anytime you can contact me. My contact will be given, like my email address, so you can contact through me, or you can reach to me
Thank you so
anytime.
much, Mr. Lehman, for such an amazing session. And yes, PSIM is indeed a versatile simulation software package that can be used to simulate intuitively any electric and electronic circuit. So, guys, I will request all of you, first of all, to just open your cameras for a group photo, and after that, we will give the feedback form in the chat. Go and fill it and tell us how this session was. And after that, those who want to have the question answer session can please just wait a minute. After the group photo and feedback form, we can you guys can just ask the questions, and those who want to leave and do not have any questions, they are kindly requested to leave. So it's all up to you guys. So please open up your cameras for the group photo.
We do have Sir Mohammed Hafiz Ismail, sir. Are you there? Can you turn on your camera, sir?
Yes, sir. We request you to. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Your camera is visible. Okay. Uh, did Ashavaji, did you just take the picture?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So I guess thank you very much for your time. So those who have the questions, please ask them to Mr. Senza Lumen, and we'll providing you the that feedback form chat link in the chat. So please go and fill it too. And yeah, those who do not have any questions can leave. Thank you so much for everyone for taking out time for this educative session.
Sir, on behalf of IEEE UTB student branch and this IEEE Women in Engineering NUS chapter, I'm really thankful to you, sir, Mohammed Hafiz bin Ismail, that you provided your valuable time and brief us about IEEE Day. Surely we will be arranging some more activities. The team from IEEE NUST, the PNEC specifically, Ms. Aisha, they are like very active and coming up with several ideas. So I think that the collaboration in between IEEE UTP Malaysia and this PNEC Karachi, it will go long, and we will surely be arranging such type of technical webinars as well. So sir, thank you once again on behalf. Thank you, Ms. Aisha, for always supporting such type of events. And thank you so much, Luman. Luman is from Bangladesh, our Mishti brother. Thank you so much. So now the floor is open for question answers. Others can leave, right, Abdullah?
Yes, indeed, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
And those who have the question answer, who want to ask the questions, please open your mic. We're gonna allow you the mic opportunity. Open your mic and ask, sir, and you can just have a direct conversation with him.
I think I got a question from Muhammad Rezaul Haq that he's asking for how to convert unstable DC to stable DC or AC to charge a battery. So within a particular limit or range, you can apply some kind of PI controller as basic circuit to make the output voltage regulated, much more regulated. So that's the very simple solution. If you apply use a PI controller and get the output control signal generated from the PI controller to feed it back to the your switching mode power supply, like a DC-DC converter or DC-AC DC converter. So that will solve the problem. But still, that will be feasible for any particular range. If your if your source voltage is too much unstable, like it's going out of the range of your PI controller, then it might not work. But within a range, it should be sufficient.
If anyone else has a question, please open your mic and ask to some Sanjit Newman. Okay, we have a question from K17ES03 that can it be used for IoT?
Okay, the version we have demonstrated today is a very old version, PSIM 9.1.4 version. So those kind of stuffs are not available in this version. But if you go for the latest version of PSIM, there are much more lot of varieties and more modules and items are available in the latest version. Though it will not cover the IoT completely, but some modules are available over there, which can give you the first-hand touch of the IoT related application. But it's not basically for IoT related application, because PSIM has been designed for the basically for the power electronics related simulation. You can apply it for power electronics or for electrical machine or for renewable energy application, or you can also at some limit within some limited range can apply for the power system analysis. Okay, another question is advantages and disadvantages if compared with the MATLAB Simulink. Okay, in MATLAB Simulink, you for different element, you will get some kind of block, and sometimes it might become quite complicated to understand how to connect those blocks, how to get the result. But PSIM is more like a practical version of the experiment. So if you go to any lab, what you will find, if you want to build a circuit, you will take the element, you will connect the element through wire, and you will put the different sensor like a probe, like oscilloscope, voltmeter, ammeter in series, some with parallel to measure the result or get the output. So the same thing applied in PSIM. In PSIM software platform, you have to connect the elements similarly like an experimental setup. Like you have to connect the voltmeter parallelly, you have to connect the ammeter in series, you have to connect the oscilloscope probe like this way, and the items are it's very quite simplified. It's not that much complicated like if you will find in Simulink. If you are accustomed to Simulink, then it's okay for you. But if I can put it like this way, as a fresher, you don't know PSIM, you don't know MATLAB, but if you try both at the same time, I believe that you will choose the PSIM. That's the thing I can say. It is more intuitive in nature. I hope that answers your question.
If anyone else has more questions, please just write them in the chat box, or you can just open your mic and ask them. Anyone? No. So, okay, I guess all the questions have been answered by now. And as we are approaching the end, we would like you all to, we are dropping, sorry about that. As we wrap it up, I want to thank our speakers for taking out time for this amazing session. Muhammad Hafiz Ismail, Sir S.M. Sanziliuman, thank you for your time, and I hope we all have learned something valuable today. And also, everyone, thank you for joining us for this educative session. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe and have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care and goodbye.